A white-haired kid is on the ground, grinding out push-ups, counting a number that seems to have no end. He keeps killing himself with the workout and finally hits push-up number 9,995. His face is pure determination as he continues the intense workout, looking like he could pass out at any second. Then, the guy just collapses from exhaustion and starts cursing out some system for making him do so many push-ups right after reincarnating. Just then, a hand appears to help him up and a voice calls him Su Chen, telling him the ceremony has already started. This guy is Zhao Zilong, one of the main character's best friends, and he says it's almost their turn, so they better hurry. Su Chen still wants to finish his push-ups, but his friend insists that the ceremony is the most important event and they can't miss it. Losing his patience, his buddy just starts dragging him away, saying there's no time to think about workouts right now. When they get there, the place is packed, like a stadium, and everyone's buzzing about the combat classes. Rumor has it that classes like Mage or Dragon Knight are super rare, but a few lucky people have already awakened as a berserker and an assassin. At that moment, some students get all hyped up because the famous senior, Murong, is also going to be at the event. Our two friends finally make it through the crowd, and Zhao Zilong breathes a sigh of relief that they weren't too late. So the MC explains his name is Su Chen, and he showed up in this world 7 days ago, right in the middle of a massive earthquake. In this place, when people turn 18, they all participate in a ceremony to awaken a class, which can either be for combat or support. Out of nowhere, a girl named Zhao Lu steps into the portal and manages to awaken as a mage, an incredibly rare class. Everyone's jaw drops when they see that Zhao Lu from Class 2 became a mage, one of the rarest classes in existence. Some dude in the crowd comments that she seemed like just some ordinary girl, but now she's a legit goddess. Then, the MC's friend nudges him and asks if that isn't the girlfriend he just got a little while ago. Our hero remembers that the previous owner of this body chased after her for 2 years, and the girl only agreed to date him because of a piece of armor. Now with all this power, a bunch of guys try to hit on her, but the girl just straight up ignores everyone. Acting all high and mighty, the new mage announces that from this day forward she's going to soar high and reach the top of the world. Su Chen goes up to her to say congrats, but the look on her face isn't exactly thrilled to see him. The girl calls him Zhang Lei and says it's a good time for them to break up, and the young man has to correct her, saying his own name. With pure disdain, she pulls a small notebook from her back pocket and starts searching through a list of names. After flipping a few pages, she finally finds his name and confirms he's the right person. Completely shameless, the girl says that he should also break up with her, leaving the two friends totally confused. The MC gets pissed and asks if she's there to lay everyone off or something. Out of nowhere, a blonde guy shows up, mocking him, saying that at least with a layoff you get severance, but Su Chen won't get a single dime. This guy is Li Ling Xiao, who brags about having awakened as a swift shooter and immediately asks the girl to go celebrate with him. The blonde guy takes her hand and makes that cliché promise, that if she wants the stars in the sky, he'll get them for her. Then the blonde dude turns to the MC and with total arrogance invites him to be his servant and serve tea for him and his new girl. Our hero's friend gets angry, but Li Ling Xiao just shrugs and says that less than 20% of the people at the academy awaken a combat class. At that moment, our young man's ex-girlfriend just gives a smug little smile, agreeing with everything her new partner said. Suddenly, a voice announces that Su Chen is next, and he gets all excited because it's finally his turn. Full of confidence, the MC promises he's going to make that rival of his meal, and his friend cheers him on. His opponent gets furious at the white-haired kid's audacity and glares at him with pure hatred, thinking the guy has lost his mind. Not even bothering with the taunts, the young man calmly walks toward the awakening portal. He thinks to himself that since he's a transmigrator, he's definitely going to awaken a legendary class and shut everyone up. Then the detection begins, and a progress bar appears on a blue screen, showing that the process has started. Super pumped, the guy throws his arms open and yells that he's ready to receive everyone's admiration. But to everyone's surprise, the result on the screen is no class, leaving the entire crowd completely baffled. Seeing this bizarre result, his rival can barely hold back his laughter and covers his mouth with his hand. He can't contain himself and bursts out laughing, asking how someone can be such a loser that they awaken absolutely nothing. The crowd is in shock, wondering if this has ever happened before, because nobody's ever heard of someone failing to awaken. The MC can't believe what he's seeing and mentally complains, asking for a little respect since he's a transmigrator. The blonde rival yells for the MC to get down from there and stop embarrassing himself since he has no power at all. Suddenly, the sky turns dark, and people start to wonder if this is some kind of super rare awakening phenomenon. But our guy celebrates because he knew the story wasn't going to end like this and believes some insane power is on its way. His opponent is shocked, unable to understand how some commoner could awaken something that causes a phenomenon this huge. Seeing this, the ex-girlfriend thinks maybe she fired him too soon and that now she might be able to get rehired with this new power. Then the MC points at his rival and tells him he might as well get used to calling him daddy. The sky fills with purple lightning and everyone stares up, stunned, with no idea what's going on. From the middle of the clouds, a giant purple claw appears, surrounded by sinister lightning and an evil aura. The claw starts descending toward the crowd and people panic, running and screaming for help. The creature attacks and sends several students flying with a single swipe. Up in the sky, a massive purple dragon appears, and someone screams that this isn't an awakening, it's a monster invasion. Just then, the MC is caught by surprise and gets smacked hard by the beast's tail. With the impact, the young man is thrown violently to the ground, shattering everything around him. The dragon approaches the guy lying on the ground and an alarm starts blaring, warning of a level 1 invasion at the school. Out of nowhere, two guys run toward the beast with weapons in hand, ready to fight to the end. The purple creature prepares to attack the two men who charge at it without any fear. But the beast unleashes a blast of energy and defeats both of them with ease, sending them flying. Other students try to fight, but the monster is too strong and they cry out for help from Senior Murong. Meanwhile, the MC's friend runs desperately to get out of the chaos and save himself. In the middle of his escape, he stops and yells for Suchen to run too and get away from the danger. Watching the scene, the blonde rival gives a little smirk and says the clown is getting what he deserves for being so weak. Our white-haired young man is terrified and thinks about getting out of there as fast as possible. But the giant dragon turns toward him and stares him down with those terrifying glowing red eyes. Then the creature opens its massive mouth full of sharp teeth, ready to swallow him whole. Desperate, the MC raises his hand and yells for the beast to hold on a sec. Unbelievably, the monster stops and the guy gets on his knees, grabs one of its claws, and tells it to calm down. With no other choice, he starts busting out push-ups right there on the beast's claw to complete the system's mission. From a distance, people watch, completely confused, wondering what the heck Suchen is doing. One of them asks why on earth he would be doing push-ups now, and another thinks he's putting on a little show for the dragon. His opponent laughs and says the guy's lost his mind from fear, while our guy reaches push-up number 9,999. With pure determination, the guy finally completes the 10,000th push-up and finishes the workout. Just then, a system screen pops up, congratulating him and giving him 1 strength point and something called a charge punch. The young man gets curious about the power of this punch, and the system explains that its strength depends on time and accumulated anger. To test it out, the system offers a free punch charge for 10 years right as the dragon prepares to attack again. Without wasting a second, the giant beast lets out an insane roar ready to crash the party. At that moment, a red-haired girl with a giant greatsword appears, looking very concerned about the situation. Then the MC throws himself in front of the beast and yells at it to stop and not hurt anyone else. With a ton of grit, he prepares to use his new charge punch with everything he's got to save everyone. At the same time, the redhead girl also charges forward and unleashes a powerful strike with her giant red sword. The swordswoman's attack hits the monster dead on, but it looks like it barely left a scratch. Just then, the young man lands his punch, and a massive explosion of yellow energy hits the dragon right in the chest. The power of the blow is so absurd that it causes a gigantic explosion that simply disintegrates the beast. Hiding nearby, some students are left speechless, wondering if the demon dragon was really defeated. A guy points at the explosion and says it was Senior Murong Lulian who defeated the monster. Everyone celebrates, thinking it was the girl, but she's just standing there confused because she felt a strange energy in that attack. Exhausted but happy, the MC celebrates the power of his punch and immediately asks the system for more missions. The blonde rival claps for the red-haired girl, saying she's a legend for taking out the monster in a single blow. The young man's ex-girlfriend sees this and becomes determined, promising herself that one day she'll surpass Senior Murong. The swordswoman gets suspicious because she knew her sword attack wasn't strong enough to take out the beast. With this doubt in her mind, she looks over at the white-haired MC and wonders if he was the one who delivered the final blow. Out of nowhere, a man in a suit runs toward them and introduces himself as the new headmaster of the academy. The guy thanks the girl on behalf of the school for stepping in and helping to resolve the dangerous crisis. The headmaster then asks the girl to say a few words to the students who are waiting for her. At that moment, the man grabs the MC's shoulder and tells him to get out of the way because he's blocking her view. The senior raises her hand and yells at the headmaster to stop and not to touch the student. The system screen pops up out of nowhere with the weirdest mission yet: yell "I love you" to the redhead 100 times. The kid can't believe the task and wonders if the system is messing with him. The girl walks up to him and, with a smile, politely asks for his name. Without a second thought, the young man declares his love and yells at the top of his lungs that he loves her to complete the new mission. With this sudden declaration, the swordswoman freezes up and turns beet red, completely confused. The young man confirms the bully's name while the big guy on the ground desperately begs for forgiveness. Then the protagonist asks if he knows someone named Han Mei, leaving the brute completely baffled. The brute denies knowing the girl and is completely lost by the super random question he was just asked. So the young man grabs him and demands to know why he has that name if he doesn't even know the girl. Crying, the brute explains that his grandma was the one who gave him that name. The protagonist orders him to find that girl, and the bully promises he will find her no matter what. The headmaster gets furious with the student's attitude and asks what kind of nonsense he's spouting. The girl ignores all the commotion and asks if the student was the one who delivered the final blow to the demon dragon. The guy completely ignores her and keeps shouting "I love you" over and over to finish the mission. The headmaster can't take it, grabs him, yelling that the young man has lost his mind, and orders someone to get him out of there. Two other students grab him and start dragging him away from the ceremony grounds. Even while being dragged away, the white-haired kid doesn't stop declaring his love for the swordswoman. From a distance, the blonde rival makes fun of the MC, thinking it's ridiculous for him to try anything with the senior. Just then, the guy's ex comes over and asks him for some mage skill books. His opponent agrees immediately and tells her to just say how many magic books she needs. The girl is surprised, and the blonde guy asks if this is really necessary, since they aren't even dating yet. He explains that his family has 5 treasured books, but he needs his father's permission. Without even blinking, the mage tears up her little notebook and declares that he's her boyfriend now. With that, she hands him a piece of paper she calls an employment certificate to make the deal official. The blonde guy takes the paper a bit awkwardly, but ends up agreeing to the whole situation and the relationship. Meanwhile, the students who dragged him off are making fun of him for confessing his love when he's such a loser. They drop the guy on the ground and tell him he'll be the first to bite the dust during the awakening trial. The system screen pops up out of nowhere with the weirdest mission yet. Yell "I love you" to the redhead 100 times. Suddenly, a foot stomps down hard right in front of him, leaving the white-haired kid confused. 3 bullies show up and stare him down with unfriendly looks, clearly looking for a fight. The young man gets up and asks the big guy what he wants, politely calling him uncle. The brute gets pissed, grabs him by the collar, and bellows that he's only 18 years old. The other 2 say he did it on purpose and demand 1,000 yuan as a protection fee for the day. The guy remembers that the brute is Lile, a bully who is always taking money from the body's original owner. The previous owner's life was pretty sad. He lived with an aunt and uncle who couldn't care less about him after his parents passed away. The bully yells loudly again and demands the money, threatening to mess him up badly. But now, as a great transmigrator, the young man isn't going to let some random bully intimidate him. Determined to avenge the previous owner, he throws a punch with all his might right at the bully's face. The bully and his friends are completely shocked, frozen in place by the young man's surprise attack. The guy is thrown backward and thinks that his charged punch didn't have enough time to get strong. Lying on the ground, the young man starts to sweat and wonders why his punch was so weak. The bully cracks his knuckles, surprised that a weakling like him had the guts to actually fight back. One of the henchmen mocks the young man, saying the punch didn't even tickle his boss, who's a tank warrior. With that, the bully charges forward, angrily ready to teach a lesson to the guy who dared to challenge him. The brute then grabs him and demands 10,000 yuan, but the kid asks for some time to get the cash. The big guy lets him go and gives him half a day, promising to come by his dorm before dinner to collect the money. The group of bullies leaves, and the white-haired young man runs in the opposite direction to get away. The guy runs, thinking that half a day is more than enough time and that he needs to hurry to complete his mission. Meanwhile, the headmaster is praising the senior, calling her the legend and glory of the academy. Suddenly, the young man appears and yells that he loves her again, to the surprise of everyone there. The headmaster gets furious at the interruption, points at the kid, and wonders why the heck he came back. Once again, 2 men grab him and drag him out while he continues his declaration of love. They were in a conference room discussing important academy matters with the senior. One of the teachers asks the girl to share some of her experience for the martial arts exam. The swordswoman bluntly replies that it all comes down to her powerful class and her insane talent. With the girl's direct answer, the teachers are left completely speechless, with nothing to say. The MC doesn't give up and appears at the room's window, once again shouting with all his might that he loves her. The headmaster, at his limit, yells at the MC and asks if he's ever going to stop. The headmaster then asks the senior to ignore him, saying the kid didn't awaken and must be a bit shaken up. The senior becomes suspicious, doubting that the final blow on the dragon came from him, since he has no class. Losing his patience, the headmaster bellows for someone to shut the kid up, as he won't stop his declarations. The senior says that won't be necessary and that she'll handle the problem herself, grabbing her giant sword. Leaving the room, the swordswoman jumps out the window and uses her sword like a surfboard to fly. With that, she reaches the tree where he is, and the kid, scared, asks what she's doing there. Without answering, she grabs him by the hood and jumps from the tree, taking the guy with her on top of the sword. The teachers watch the 2 of them fly higher and higher and wonder if she's going to drop the guy from 10,000 meters. At that moment, the headmaster remembers something very important about the senior's reputation at the academy. The girl is known as the Great Demon King and asks if the young man doesn't truly love her. Without a second thought, the redhead lets go of the guy, who starts plummeting from the sky, screaming in desperation. She catches him again and challenges him to say he loves her 50 times before they hit the ground. She holds onto him and warns that she's not kidding, and that if he can't say the 50 phrases, with that, she threatens that if he fails, he'll become a pancake on the ground when they land. The white-haired kid falls at high speed with a look of pure panic on his face. Desperate, he screams as he plummets toward the academy grounds below. In freefall, he calls her crazy and screams that she's completely insane for doing this. With no other choice, the young man starts yelling that he loves her to try and complete the system's mission. Even while falling from an absurd height, he continues to declare his love to the senior, who just watches. From a distance, the teachers are shocked, and one of them comments that the girl is being way too cruel to him. The guy continues the system's task even while upside down and nearing the end. Getting close to the ground, he screams for help, asking someone to save him from the fatal fall. At the last second, the redhead saves him and says that now she believes the feelings he declared. Back on the ground, the guy, panting, questions her and asks if she's some kind of demon. With a smile on her face, the swordswoman confirms that a lot of people tend to call her that. Then she drops him on the ground and says goodbye to the headmaster, saying she needs to report the invasion to her master. The headmaster runs over and asks the senior to wait a moment, because he needs to say something important. He recalls that the academy's most glorious moment was when she achieved the highest score of all time. With that, the man explains that the academy is in decline and begs for the girl's help. The senior takes a golden card out of her pocket and hands it to the academy's headmaster. The man is shocked to see that it's an admission card for the famous Tianfu Academy. Already flying away, the redhead says she'll help the young man if he gets first place in the freshman trial. Other teachers are ecstatic because a skill without a class is the mark of a genius. The headmaster smiles confidently, believing the academy will have great results in the exams. The MC thinks that the girl was incredibly cruel for dropping him from 10,000 meters up like that. The guy still complains about not completing the mission since he was only 3 declarations away from 100. From a distance, the bullies see him and one of them tells the boss that the kid is back at the dorm. Without wasting any time, the group of brutes decides to go after the young man to collect their money. When they get there, they don't even knock, they just bust the door down with a powerful, unceremonious kick. Inside the room, the bully asks with a smug look if he got the 10,000 yuan. The MC doesn't even say a word, he just punches him in the face, sending the guy flying out of the room. The henchmen are stunned, wondering how someone without a class can be so strong. The young man realizes that his punch, charged for 5 hours, can destroy a newly awakened person. Lying on the ground, the bully gets on his knees and begs for forgiveness, admitting he was completely wrong. The next day, the headmaster is giving the students a speech, saying that today marks the beginning of the first great trial of their lives. Check it out. The result of this will count toward the martial arts exam, and he hopes everyone can achieve at least 1 star. The man also warns everyone not to start any trouble with the other academies and to form teams of 3 to 5 people. One student comments that he needs to get 1 star as a knight if he wants to get into an elite academy. Another guy chimes in that the winner gets a skill from Murong, and his goal is to become a 2-star warrior. Meanwhile, our MC is just lazing around thinking that no one's going to want to team up with him. Out of nowhere, his friend Zilong shows up calling his name, and the guy immediately asks if he also got rejected by everyone. His buddy awkwardly denies it and says that he was actually the one who didn't want to join the other students. The headmaster then yells at the white-haired young man to stop messing around and find a team already. The blonde rival shows up right then and says that nobody wants him on their team because he's a useless guy with no class. Other students jump on the bandwagon saying he'd just be dead weight and that he should just give up on the trial. Right at that moment, a red helicopter appears, flying over everyone in the courtyard. From inside the chopper, a guy with purple hair just fearlessly leaps out toward the academy grounds. The mysterious guy falls at high speed with a huge grin on his face, looking like he's having the time of his life. The dude lands perfectly on the ground without a scratch, leaving everyone speechless with his grand entrance. The purple-haired guy then asks the headmaster if, by any chance, he's late for the event. The man smiles and replies that the new student arrived just in time to participate in the trial. With that, the headmaster introduces the guy as a prodigy from the first academy who will be joining them for the trial. The kid starts his speech by saying he's not the most talented or the best looking at his old school. Because of that, he says he might not be able to get first place or that skill from Senior Murong. The girls are all swooning over this talk, finding his humility and good looks to be the most perfect thing in the world. The guys, on the other hand, tell the newcomer to have more confidence and even thank him for humbling himself so much. But then he changes his tune, introduces himself as Wei Bahui, and says he's here for Murong and he's going to win. The sudden revelation leaves everyone in shock and they all fall to the ground in surprise. One of the students gets annoyed and complains that the new guy was just showing off the whole time. To break the awkward tension, the academy's headmaster lets out a little cough and gets everyone's attention. He then decides that the newcomer will team up with Su Chen to ensure he stays safe during the trial. Elsewhere, some students are talking about how the trial will be in some newly discovered spatial node. Arriving at the portal, one of them worries if there will be enough monsters for all 3 academies. Another guy warns him not to underestimate the dungeon. And then half an hour passes before the trial begins. His friend complains that this Wei Bahui guy still hasn't shown up, and the MC asks what class he awakened. The white-haired young man then asks why his buddy didn't want to team up with the other students. Awkwardly, the friend replies that he awakened the warrior class, but he seems a bit nervous about his answer. The guy gets excited about this and says that warrior is a great combat class, the most common one of all. But his friend turns beet red and drops the bombshell that his class is magical warrior girl, leaving his friend's jaw on the floor. Seeing his friend's embarrassment, the MC asks him to transform so he can see how the thing works. The guy then strikes a confident transformation pose, getting ready to show off his new power. A purple light envelops him completely, and the transformation begins amidst ribbons and a magical glow. After the transformation, the guy is wearing a magical girl outfit, and the MC is just speechless. The white-haired young man then smiles and says he just had a very bold idea for the two of them. His friend gets mad and attacks with his weapon, yelling at him to get lost and leave him alone. The blow sends the MC flying, and his friend, worried, asks if he's okay after the attack. He explains that after transforming, he gets violent and can't help but attack the people around him. Just then, the guy grabs his friend's shoulders and says with determination that he's exactly the kind of friend he needs to have around. Suddenly, the purple-haired student finally appears behind the two of them, ready to join the team. The MC complains to the purple-haired guy, asking if he didn't see the two of them waiting for half a day. Not giving a crap, the newcomer asks why they were waiting for him in the first place. The young man's friend explains that the academy headmaster was the one who asked them to form a team together. But the newcomer immediately shoots them down, saying he never teams up with weaklings and prefers to fight alone. The white-haired kid thinks the other guy must be either showing off or just trying to annoy them. The purple-haired guy gets closer and says in a serious tone that he knows the MC's name. He accuses the guy of confessing to Murong in public and says that it was a massive insult. The newcomer turns and asks if the young man knows what the senior truly means to him. With a ton of passion, he declares that the girl is his life's goal and the goddess of his heart. He even says that if he had her contact info, he wouldn't have the courage to send a single word to the senior. Angrily, the guy yells that the MC is not worthy of loving her and tells him to get lost. The white-haired young man is left speechless, just watching the other guy's over-the-top reaction. The newcomer then leaves, saying he's going to get first place so he can follow in the footsteps of his beloved. As the purple-haired guy walks away, someone calls out to the MC and his friends along. Suddenly, a new group appears, and a big guy asks why there are only 2 of them. The MC, already annoyed, tells the big guy not to even ask and says that nobody wants to team up with them. But the bearded man calls the others blind and invites the guy to form a team with his group. The sudden proposal leaves the girl with the man completely confused, not understanding a thing. She then reminds him that the white-haired young man has no class, but the bearded guy says he's strong. The girl insists that he'll just hold them back and yells that she doesn't want him on the team at all. The big guy assures her that having the guy on the team won't be a waste of time and that she can trust him. Losing her patience, the girl gives him an ultimatum and says he has to choose either her or the new guy on the team. Without even blinking, the man tells the girl to get lost, leaving her completely shocked by his response. Furious, she asks if he's breaking up with her over a complete loser. The bearded guy yells back that women just get in the way when it's time to throw down and tells her to leave already. Filled with rage, the girl points at them and promises she'll find a much stronger team. As she walks away, she yells that they'll regret this decision big time by the end of the trial. The MC compliments the guy, and the man asks the young man to provide cover for them inside the dungeon. The guy says it's no problem, and the new trio walks toward the trial portal. Inside the dungeon, the MC's friend comments that the energy in this place feels way different from outside. Just then, the white-haired young man figures out that the monsters around here have already been taken out and suggests they go deeper. The group starts walking through the forest, hunting for new creatures to beat up. A while later, the guy points into the distance and announces he's found those pig demons from the book. Hiding in the bushes, the bearded guy confirms that there are 2 creatures in the field right in front of them. The man then says that one monster is a pig demon, and the other one is also a pig demon, leaving the guy confused. Already out of patience, the kid tells the man to stop messing around and just go after the 2 creatures. The bearded guy shoves the MC's friend forward and says that he's actually the one who has to go first. The guy's buddy refuses to go and freezes in place with a look of pure fear on his face. The big guy then points to the white-haired young man and asks if he wants him to go fight instead. But both of them refuse to go and keep arguing while the monsters get closer and closer. The MC gets annoyed and yells that the warrior is the one who's supposed to fight and tells him to get a move on. Scared, the man replies that something really bad could happen if he goes to fight the monsters. Tired of the argument, the guy shoves the big dude forward and tells him to stop stalling. With nowhere to run, the bearded guy agrees to go while the other 2 celebrate behind him. In the middle of the field, the 2 pig demons notice a new enemy approaching. The big guy runs toward the pigs, who also charge into the fight without any fear. With that, the man readies himself for the attack with an expression of pure fury on his face. Without a second thought, he lands a powerful punch on the pig demon, sending the beast flying. Watching the scene, the MC is impressed and says their new friend is crazy strong. In just a few seconds, the bearded man defeats both monsters with no trouble at all. Suddenly, the guy's buddy asks what that strange noise is that's getting closer. To their horror, a gigantic horde of pig demons appears, running straight for the group. Terrified, the MC's friend panics at the insane number of monsters. The man then reveals that he has a secret skill that attracts all nearby monsters. With this revelation, the 2 friends are left in complete shock, not even knowing what to say. He explains that when he attacks one type of monster, all others of the same species are drawn to fight. The guy then yells that he should have told him that sooner, and the trio starts running for their lives. While running, they end up bumping into the bearded man's ex-girlfriend's group. The girl then prepares to use her Crimson Sun fireball technique. With her magic, the girl launches several fireballs at the 2 monsters in the field. The attack explodes on the ground, sending the pig demons flying everywhere from the impact of the magic. One of the guys from the other group gets confused and wonders why the pigs are running away. Just then, a friend points and yells that all the creatures are running in the same direction. The girl with glasses complains that the pigs are the easiest to kill and that this is going to mess them up. Meanwhile, the friend warns that there's no point in running, because the number of monsters is only increasing. The white-haired young man then spots a canyon and tells his friends to head that way. Arriving at the location, the guy decides they're going to face all the monsters right there. His buddy gets scared and warns him not to be reckless with so many enemies around. Not caring, the MC tells the other 2 to stay back and prepares for combat. With that, the entire horde of pig demons rushes into the narrow canyon. The guy then concentrates energy into his fist and gets ready to use his charged punch. Next, he leaps into the air and launches a massive fireball at all the monsters. The blow causes a gigantic explosion that hits the entire horde of pig demons head-on. Far away in a control room, the Academy headmasters are watching the scoreboard. On the screen, first and second place are tied with 35 points each. One of the headmasters looks pretty worried about the current student rankings. Just then, the headmistress of the first academy starts bragging that her school is dominating the competition. The headmaster of the third academy also gets cocky, saying his genius student is in second place on the board. He then turns to the worried man and asks why he's being so quiet. With a somewhat forced smile, headmaster replies that his academy isn't doing too bad in fourth place. Another man immediately humiliates him, revealing that the fourth-place student actually transferred from the first academy. The blonde headmistress then accuses him of poaching her student due to a lack of talent at his own school. Headmaster retorts that they can poach students too if they want, and that he didn't stop anyone. With pure contempt, the gray-haired man asks if the second academy has any talent worth poaching. The guy adds that without that student, the second academy would be completely crushed by the third. That's why he declares that his school needs to rank higher to get this year's resources. Awkwardly, Headmaster shouts that the trial isn't over yet, but his confidence is already shot. The headmistress agrees that as time goes on, the power gap between the students will only get wider. Suddenly, the scoreboard flips, and a student from the second academy takes the lead with 98 points. Shocked, the headmaster of the third academy yells the student's name and his absurd score on the screen. The blonde headmistress is also stunned and wonders who this Su Chen is and how he scored so many points. Even the headmaster of the second academy is confused, not understanding how an unclassified student got to first place. But he quickly recovers and starts bragging to the other headmaster that his academy is in the lead. Annoyed, the gray-haired man yells that there must have been some kind of error while the other laughs at the situation. The guy points at the screen and says it's impossible for an unknown kid to jump to the top of the scoreboard out of nowhere. With a smile, Headmaster explains that the system is automatic and that the artificial intelligence never makes mistakes. Even so, the furious man slams his fist on the table and orders someone to investigate where this supposed error occurred. The headmaster of the second academy then taunts him, saying he can investigate all he wants, but his school will stay on top. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, the guy's friend asks, shocked, if he defeated all the monsters with just one punch. Out of nowhere, a golden aura explodes from the MC's body, leaving his friends even more stunned. Observing the energy around him, the white-haired young man wonders what it is. Celebrating, the friend realizes that the guy has become a one-star professional and has surpassed all the geniuses. The MC is confused, because since he wasn't classified, he doesn't feel any change in his power. Elsewhere, two bald men come face to face with a pack of wild wolves. With glowing red eyes, the creatures prepare to attack the mysterious duo. One of them scoffs and says that no one can beat them, as they are stronger than one-star monsters. His partner agrees and tells him to focus on the main mission, as they are already in the right place. The man explains that what they're looking for is here, as people entered this place thousands of years ago. He then activates a blue crystal that begins to glow brightly, illuminating the entire canyon. With the item's activation, an ancient gate appears on the stone wall, and the ground starts to shake. Suddenly, the wolves begin to grow in size and horns sprout from their heads. Startled, the man realizes the surroundings have changed and the monsters have become much stronger. He then runs to the gate and desperately tries to open it to escape. The door doesn't move an inch, and the man yells that he can't open it no matter what. Before he has time to think, one of the evolved wolves attacks and throws him away from the passage. Lying on the ground, the man is shocked to realize the monsters now have 2-star strength. His partner then concludes that activating the crystal turned the place into a 2-star field. Meanwhile, the MC's group is walking calmly, and the bearded guy complains that he hasn't seen any monsters. The MC then explains that he eliminated all the pigs, so they need to go deeper into the dungeon. Suddenly, the trio spots some strange bird-like creatures on top of a mountain. The creatures are chickens with helmets on their heads and seem to be much stronger than the pig demons. The guy's buddy warns that the one-star monster is much stronger than the pigs and that they should be careful. With that, the friend celebrates that after half an hour they've finally found a new enemy to fight. Nearby, another group complains that the pigs have disappeared and now they have to fight one-star monsters. Annoyed, the bearded man yells at the girl and informs her that his group found the chickens first. The blonde girl scoffs at him and says that with the liability guy they wouldn't be able to defeat the monsters. The big guy then shoves the white-haired young man forward and tells him to show the girl what he's capable of. The guy refuses and says he's still charging his energy and that right now he's just an ordinary person. Not giving up, the bearded guy tries to push his other friend into the fight, but he also refuses to go. Tired of waiting, the muscular man decides he'll fight the 3 creatures himself. His 2 friends hold him back and warn that it's too risky to fight the monsters alone. Seeing the scene, the blonde girl calls the 3 of them useless and says they're just putting on an act. Just then, another group arrives and announces that the third academy is clearing the area and tells everyone to leave. The bearded guy reveals that the newcomer is a top 3 genius and the son of the third academy's headmaster. With that, a friend of the guy shouts that the monsters are now reserved for their group. Annoyed, the big guy complains that the newcomer is acting like he's in a nightclub. At that moment, the blonde girl approaches the guy and asks if he doesn't recognize her. The young man then recognizes her with a smile on his face and calls her sister Yu. He then tells everyone to leave, except for the pretty female students, who can stay. The girl convinces him to let them stay so they can see how a real team fights. With that, the guy agrees and invites her to his new house after the trial is over. With that, one of the armored girls charges forward with her sword, yelling for the creature to die. Just then, the 3 armored girls rush the giant creature with everything they've got, attacking all at once. Watching the fight, the MC's friend is stunned and says that all 3 of them are armored warriors. The blonde then turns to the bearded guy and taunts him, saying he made a huge mistake. At that moment, the young man from the third academy arrives, acting all smug and tells everyone to get out of his way. The guy then charges at the monster and the girls decide to fight alongside him. Out of nowhere, a massive sound echoes through the place, kicking up a ton of dust. Completely confused, the swordsman wonders what's happening. When the dust settles, the chicken has turned into a bizarre creature with saws for wings. Without giving him time to react, the creature attacks with its saws and sends the guy flying. Immediately after, the monster goes after the three girls, shattering their swords and knocking them all down. Startled, one of the guy's friends realizes that the monster is now a two-star beast. Lying on the ground, the young man from the third academy also wonders how the creature got so strong. His companions then yell for him to run because they don't stand a chance against a monster of this level. At that moment, the blonde girl, all wounded, begs the young man to save her and get her out of there. But the guy shoves her away and yells at her to get away from him because he's not going to help. The creature attacks another girl and knocks her down with its saw blades. Lying on the ground, the girl says she can't move and reminds him of a promise he made. The young man yells that he can't worry about her right now and tells her to fend for herself. Shocked, the girl reaches out her hand and wonders who could possibly save her now. Without a second thought, the guy and his two companions flee the battlefield in a panic. As they run, another saw creature appears behind them and starts chasing them. One of the friends screams that they can barely handle one monster, and now there are two. With a confident smile, the swordsman reveals that his father gave him an item to save his own skin. The guy then throws a green orb toward the MC's group to use them as bait. The white-haired young man catches the object in mid-air, confused, not understanding what it is. His friend then yells at him to throw the item away because it attracts the monster's attention. But before he can do anything, the artifact explodes in a cloud of green smoke. With that, the two saw creatures immediately turn toward the smoke. Roaring, the two monsters now run toward the trio, and the girl abandoned on the ground. As he runs away, the swordsman laughs and says he's being generous by giving them the saw beasts. The MC gets furious and yells that he'll remember that scumbag. The other one scoffs and asks why he should be afraid, since the young man is about to kick the bucket. On the ground, the blonde girl cries and says she doesn't want to go out like this and will do anything to be saved. Annoyed, the bearded guy yells at her to shut up, as they are still there to fight. The girl then calls him useless, since they couldn't even fight the chickens. Suddenly, one of the monsters lunges at the girl, who screams in fear and protects herself. Another creature attacks the white-haired guy and knocks him to the ground with a powerful blow. Seeing the scene, the big guy loses hope and says that not even the young man is a match for the beasts. Despite this, he prepares to fight and says the only option is to fight to the bitter end. At that moment, the other friend grabs the bearded guy's arm and stops him from charging forward. He then tells his friend not to interfere because he'll handle the situation himself. Without waiting, one of the saw creatures roars and charges toward the group. Suddenly, a blue aura surrounds the guy, who leaps into the air to face the monster. He then transforms into a magical girl with a purple outfit and a scythe in her hand. Shocked, the bearded guy's jaw drops as he wonders what kind of bizarre transformation that is. With her new scythe, the magical girl blocks the saw creature's attack with no difficulty at all. The transformed friend then tells the others to run while he holds off the two beasts. Relieved, the blonde girl agrees and yells that they are heading out to get away from there. She then asks the MC and the big guy for help, as the three of them need to escape. Before they can run, the magical girl attacks the monster and sends it flying into the air. Then, she jumps and stomps on the other creature, crushing it into the ground with force. The girl takes the opportunity and grabs the white-haired guy, telling him to run. The young man refuses to run and tells the girl to go if she wants because he's not leaving. Annoyed, she yells that he's just an amateur and that staying here is the same as waiting for the end. She then complains about her bad luck and says she can't believe she found a bunch of losers. Fed up with listening to her, the MC slaps the girl across the face and calls her annoying. Shocked, the girl puts a hand to her face and asks if he dared to hit her. She then turns to the bearded guy and asks if he's just going to stand there and watch. To her surprise, the big guy also slaps her across the face and says he's been wanting to do that. Meanwhile, the two saw creatures attack the magical girl at the same time. With the impact, the young woman is thrown to the ground and her scythe falls far from her hands. The transformed friend yells for the guy to fall back as he's no match for the beasts. With a furious look, the MC says that no one dares to hurt his brother. Then a red aura explodes from his body, and he yells that he will never forgive them. The two creatures are startled by the energy and turn to attack the young man. He then prepares a charge punch and tells the blow to ignite his rage. With a single punch, the guy blows one of the beasts into 1,000 pieces. Impressed, the bearded guy cheers that his friend defeated a two-star monster. The MC thinks that the system said his power depends on his accumulated anger. The blonde girl refuses to believe it and says he only won because they had already wounded the monster. Suddenly, more saw beasts appear on the horizon, drawn by the fight. The young man gets worried as there's no way to run now and his punch used up half of his rage. He then realizes he needs to recover his energy to be able to fight the creatures. To do this, the guy stops the monster's attack with his hand and curses out the swordsman to get angry. The MC realizes that just the swordsman won't give him enough rage to fight. In front of him, the other two saw beasts roar and prepare to attack. Seeing the scene, the transformed friend and the bearded guy scream the guy's name, worried. The white-haired young man releases his fire aura again and gains more rage points. With his increased strength, he manages to block the attack of the two creatures with his bare hands. To get stronger, he starts yelling about ancient battles to summon more fury. With his hand engulfed in flames, the fighter lands a powerful punch on one of the saw creatures. The blow explodes the monster, and the guy continues to shout about Chinese perseverance. A fire phoenix appears around him as he yells that this rage is in his blood. With hearts in his eyes, the big guy says his friend is completely off his rocker. The MC then prepares his final punch to avenge all the hatred of his life. With a scream, he launches his final attack and destroys the last beast with an explosion. Panting, the guy says the fight is over, but he still has a lot of pent-up anger. Shocked, the blonde girl wonders if it was a miracle for an amateur to take down so many monsters. The young man then looks to the horizon and promises that he will protect this world, just as he protected his old one. Impressed, the bearded guy asks what his friend's real class is and what that spell was. De-transforming, the other friend says he didn't understand anything, but he was incredibly shocked. Elsewhere, a blonde woman is keeping an eye on the scoreboard and comments that the real talents always shine through. Just then, a gray-haired guy nudges a headmaster, asking why his student plummeted to third place. The headmaster replies that it's fine because third place is still an excellent position. Another guy calls him delusional, saying the student hasn't scored in a while, which means it was pure luck. He points to the scoreboard and says the geniuses are showing who's boss and will soon kick the guy out of the top 10. Suddenly, the scoreboard updates, and Su Chen's name pops up in first place with 208 points. At this, the woman's jaw drops, wondering how the guy jumped to the top with so many points. The headmaster starts laughing at his colleague, while the woman says that's ridiculous and impossible. He then slaps his rival and asks if his face doesn't hurt from the embarrassment of betting wrong. Annoyed, the gray-haired man tells the headmistress that there must be a problem with the kid or the trial. The headmaster tells his colleague to shut up and says it's shameful not to be able to accept defeat. At that moment, a danger alarm sounds throughout the room, putting everyone on high alert. The woman is startled and says it's a level 1 alert, and that there's been a change in the student's trial. With a smirk, the gray-haired man says he was right, and that the young man's first place doesn't count anymore. Before they can argue, an employee runs in, shouting that something terrible has happened in the trial. Panting, the employee explains that the trial location suddenly changed from 1 star to 2 stars. Shocked, the 3 headmasters are left speechless, wondering how that could have happened out of nowhere. The headmistress then asks for the reason, but the man says the cause is unknown and the place is dangerous. Worried, the woman says that 2-star monsters are far beyond the students' capabilities. The headmaster then asks if they can enter the battlefield to help the students. The employee says no and explains that the entry rules haven't changed and teachers are not allowed to enter. The gray-haired man imagines the scene and says the creatures will have a field day in there. But the headmaster says with confidence that it won't necessarily happen as he thinks. His rival then yells that his academy is the weakest and his students will be the first to go. The headmaster points to the scoreboard and reminds him that his students' ranking suddenly shot up. He explains that this can only mean one thing. The guy took down 2-star monsters to gain so many points. The other 2 are shocked and wonder if the second academy could possibly have such a strong student. The headmistress agrees that, although unbelievable, it's the most likely explanation for what happened. With a smile, the headmaster slaps his rival's face to provoke him for his lack of faith. Annoyed, the gray-haired man takes the slap and wonders why he's getting hit again. The headmaster says the slap was so he wouldn't underestimate the second academy and asks if it hurt. He then shoves his shoe in his rival's face and tells him to hide in shame for his bet. Back in the trial field, the MC tells the others that the place has changed and they need to run. His friend replies that the exit portal is at the end of the secret realm, and it's still a long way off. Just then, the blonde girl grabs the young man's arm and begs him to take her with the group. Annoyed, the guy tells her to call him daddy instead of big brother to show some respect. Without even thinking, the girl calls him daddy and looks at him with admiration, leaving the young man surprised. Elsewhere, 3 bald men with sunglasses are surrounded by wolves, and one of them asks what to do. One of them explains that the change is related to the items their master wanted, and that they didn't expect this. Another bald guy says there's no point talking about it now, and that they need to open the bronze gate to get out. The third one despairs as the gate requires 2-star practitioners to be opened. The MC's group realizes that no teachers have shown up and that they're on their own. The bearded guy says that getting to the end will be tough, and that many might not survive the journey. He then sees a creature running towards other students and yells for them to be careful. One of the guys turns around and starts shooting at the monster with his gun while yelling about being a man. The horned wolf roars in pain and fury as the bullets bounce off its body, doing nothing. The shooter realizes his bullets aren't working, and the purple-haired girl says she'll handle the situation. She then raises her staff and casts a sand spell to trap the creature in place. With that, the sand around the wolf starts to move and pull it down, immobilizing the beast. The guy praises the mage's strength, and she tells him to run while she holds the beast for a while. The MC's friend recognizes the duo and says they've encountered a unicorn wolf beast. The shooter turns to the guy's group and comments on his luck for still being alive. He then decides to ignore them and tells his companion that they should split up so they don't fall behind. The mage turns to the white-haired young man and says they are no longer related and she won't help him. With that, the 2 turn their backs on the MC's group and go their separate ways. Annoyed, the bearded guy crosses his arms and says nobody asked for their help and that the woman is incredible. The blonde girl agrees and says the other one is stupid and blind, just like she used to be. Another friend is surprised by the girl insulting herself to praise their white-haired friend. Furious, the MC says he's going to take down some 2-star monsters to blow off some steam. He then runs toward the wolf and prepares a charge punch with all his energy. Impressed, the bearded guy wonders what his friend's class is, and if he's really an amateur. Another friend confirms that he is an amateur but also doesn't understand how it's possible. With a punch, an explosion of energy envelops the young man and throws him backward with the force of the blow. Looking up, the guy sees a ring of light and wonders what that thing floating in the sky is. The big guy explains that it's a 2-star ring, and that his friend is almost at that level. The young man is surprised to level up so quickly, and the bearded guy thinks it's crazy that he finds it easy. He then explains that leveling up is difficult, and that many never reach 2 stars in their lifetime. His friend adds that from 2 stars on, they need to pass class trials. Confused, the MC turns to his friends and asks what these class trials are. The big guy asks if he didn't study, and the white-haired guy admits, not much. The blonde girl explains that each class has a star tower for level advancement trials. The girl says the towers are dangerous and that many people get seriously injured or end up losing their lives. Another friend comments that the guy's advancement is rare, as he kills monsters stronger than himself. The young man then wonders where an amateur like him would do his trials to level up. His friends are left without an answer and shake their heads, as they also don't know what to say. The bearded guy then explains that as far as he knows, there are no towers for amateurs, as they are all class-specific. With that, the white-haired guy wonders if he can level up without needing a trial. His bearded friend says he's not sure, and the other friend suggests that maybe he can evolve. With a confident smile, the young man says he'll find out the answer after taking down more monsters. The group stops near a canyon and watches the other students scattered around the area. Suddenly, they see a nasty fight going down below against a monster with chainsaws. The white-haired guy finds it interesting and comments that it's rare to see someone taking on a 2-star beast. The bizarre creature manages to defend against a surprise attack, showing that this thing is a tough nut to crack. Then, a light-haired girl uses a stealth skill and vanishes in the blink of an eye. A moment later, she reappears in the air, leaping toward the monster to attack from behind. With her dagger, the assassin tries to pierce the beast's thick hide but can't get through. The beast reacts instantly and attacks with its chainsaws, forcing the girl to retreat. The girl then lands on a rock and realizes her attack didn't even tickle the beast. She complains that even though she found an opening, her level is too low to hurt a 2-star monster. Impressed, some students wonder who the girl is, and one of them recognizes her as Li Shuangjian. Another student explains that the girl is a shadow assassin, a very powerful and rare class. The MC's friend comments that she's incredible for being able to fight on equal footing with the monster. The bearded guy scoffs and says that he and his white-haired friend would finish the creature in a single blow. A guy nearby overhears the conversation and asks if the big dude has been drinking to say something so stupid. Other students start laughing and say the big guy must be crazy to say something like that. Annoyed, the bearded guy replies that they have a limited view and shouldn't judge others for it. He then asks his friend to show off and shut the others up, but the young man tells him to be discreet. The guy who started the argument gets annoyed and asks who the big dude thinks he is to talk to him. The guy introduces himself as the genius of the 3rd Academy and says that not even he could beat a monster like that. The kid then points to the MC and says it's impossible for him to defeat the creature. The guy then makes a bet saying he'll call the young man daddy if he can defeat the beast. The blonde girl gets involved and asks who the guy is to butt into their group's conversation. Furious, the girl tells him not to even try to compete with her for her daddy, leaving the other guy confused. The guy is completely lost and wonders what the girl is trying to say. Suddenly, the genius from the 3rd Academy has a realization and seems to understand the whole situation. Annoyed, he yells at the girl and says she's crazy for thinking he wants to compete with her. The MC tells the girl to stop talking nonsense and says he's not going to be the other guy's daddy. The other young man misunderstands and thinks the white-haired guy is being reasonable with him. With a smirk, the MC realizes he can take advantage of the cocky guy's bet. The blonde girl gets annoyed and calls the other guy a despicable lackey for his attitude. The young man points at the MC's group and complains that they want him to call him daddy. The guy gets furious and feels a pain in his chest from all the anger he's feeling. With that, the guy rolls up his sleeves and says he's going to teach the young man's group a lesson. Suddenly, another chainsaw creature appears and roars at all the students. The assassin yells for everyone to fall back, as a new 2-star monster has appeared. One of the students panics and tells everyone to run, as the girl won't be able to handle both of them. The second monster then runs toward the light-haired girl to attack her without mercy. The assassin quickly turns and tries to stop the creature from advancing toward the others. She manages to block the monster's attack with her dagger, showcasing her great skill. The girl realizes she only stopped one monster and that the other is now free to attack the students. The cocky guy says the MC got lucky and that he'll settle the score with him later. He then starts running and yells for his friends to flee as the monster is coming. The assassin asks for a student to stop the monster in front of her before it takes out everyone. The MC then taps the cocky guy and says the girl is calling for him. Annoyed, the guy tells the MC to shut up while his friends run away terrified. The white-haired young man then yells to the assassin that the genius from the 3rd Academy will help. Surprised, the other kid turns and asks when he ever said he was going to fight the monster. With a smirk, the MC scoffs and tells the guy to show off and display his strength to everyone. The assassin then overhears the conversation and asks the kid for help to hold off one of the monsters for her. Not knowing what to do, the cocky young man is paralyzed with fear and can't say a word. The MC provokes him and asks if he's scared to fight the bizarre creature. Annoyed, the guy yells that he's not scared and that he's the greatest genius of his academy. Full of confidence, he runs toward the monster and says he'll show them the power of his academy. But in an instant, the beast hits him with its chainsaw and sends him flying with great force. Scared, the kid gets up and runs away, thinking about how terrifying the monsters are. The MC calls the guy a useless piece of trash, while the creature roars and starts chasing him. As he flees, the kid points at the white-haired young man and says he wants to see him get taken out. With that, the monster leaps toward the group, and the assassin yells for them to get out of the way. The girl then runs to help and tells them to run while she saves them from the creature. The MC braces himself and says his rage has built up enough for one last powerful punch. The cocky guy laughs and calls him a fool for attacking a 2-star monster alone. The assassin gets worried and thinks he's being too reckless, as monsters like these are too strong. With a massive punch, the white-haired young man pulverizes the creature in an explosion of energy. Shocked, the other kid's jaw drops as he wonders how a single punch destroyed the monster. The assassin is also speechless and says she wouldn't have believed it if she hadn't seen it with her own eyes. Suddenly, a golden aura envelops the guy, and he gets confused, not understanding what's happening. He then grabs his head and screams in pain, feeling a very strong and sudden pang. His friends run over, worried, to help him and ask if he's okay after the attack. The young man explains that he's fine and that the pain means he has leveled up to 2 stars. The bearded guy is stunned and says he's one of a kind for leveling up without needing a star tower. His other friend adds that it's no surprise, as his friend is already special for being an amateur. The white-haired guy thinks that the good news is leveling up, but the bad news is not gaining any power. The assassin approaches and asks for his name and class, as she's never seen such strength. With a confident smile, the young man introduces himself as Su Chen and says he's a non-professional. The assassin gets suspicious and says she won't force him to talk, since they are competitors. She then turns her back and acknowledges the young man as her first true opponent. With a smile, the girl challenges him to a competition and says she won't lose to him. Annoyed, the MC wonders why she doesn't believe him and thinks geniuses are weird. He then tells his group that it's better for them to get out of there while it's still safe. The young man notices that the other guy is still there and asks why he hasn't left. With a smile, the cocky kid asks to come along, as he thinks it's the safest place to be. The white-haired guy then asks for a reason to take him along with their group. Without a second thought, the other young man gets on his knees and asks to become the MC's sworn son. The guy's friends are shocked and speechless at the cocky kid's attitude. But the MC points at him and calls him a genius for being so shameless and clever. The group gets near the end and sees that the exit is a bronze gate with a portal inside. One of the MC's friends finds the crowd strange and wonders why no one is going in. The bearded friend then asks the blue-haired guy what's going on. His friend explains that the gate only opens for a 2-star professional and that they're in trouble. The bearded guy then says that since his friend is now 2 stars, the job of opening the gate is his. Suddenly, one of the chainsaw monsters appears and attacks the students without any mercy. The crowd panics with the arrival of the beasts, and chaos erupts among the students. In the midst of the chaos, a blonde guy pushes a girl with glasses trying to get through the confusion. The blonde guy yells that he's an elite shooter, and because of his low defense, he needs to stay in the back. A brute from the 3rd Academy orders the 2nd Academy to fight outside. Outraged, the 2nd Academy students complain that they're being used as human shields. The girl with glasses introduces herself as the genius of the 2nd Academy, but is silenced by the brute. The big guy yells that the 3rd Academy is stronger and that the 2nd should just obey. Annoyed, the mage writes the guy's name in her notebook and says she'll remember him. The MC then starts pushing through the crowd and yells for them to make way for him. The blonde guy turns and is shocked to see that the MC's group managed to survive. At that moment, the brute yells for the 2nd Academy students to get out and fight. The MC then shouts that he's going to open the bronze gate for everyone to pass through. Scoffing, the brute laughs and says that only a 2-star professional can open the gate. With a smile, he says that everyone's hope is the genius Li Shuangyan, who will arrive soon. The guy then challenges the young man and says he'll call him daddy if he can open the gate. Annoyed, the MC asks if the 3rd Academy enjoys calling others daddy so much. At this, the brute gets furious and accuses the young man of mocking him without any respect. He continues, saying that a mediocre person like him has no right to speak to geniuses. The MC makes a face and tells him to go fly a kite for talking so much nonsense. From a distance, the blonde guy comments that the MC doesn't know his place for talking like that. The mage with glasses thinks the guy followed her and as a result gained an exaggerated sense of confidence. One of the students then threatens him and tries to grab him, saying he's asking for it. With a malicious smile, the blonde guy thinks that the MC is getting what he deserves. Suddenly, another student appears and slaps the brute from the 3rd Academy across the face. The blow sends the big guy flying to the side and the blonde guy is shocked by the scene. Annoyed and on the ground, the brute wonders who was bold enough to hit him. A blonde guy appears and asks if Shihao has grown some guts and forgotten who he is. With an awkward smile, the brute recognizes him as Brother Huo and calms down. The students recognize him as the greatest genius of the 3rd Academy and say his strength is second only to one other. Furious, the genius asks who told him to attack the guy and gives him another slap. Underneath the brute, the blonde guy suffers from the weight of the bully's body. The bully tries to explain himself and says the guy from the 2nd Academy is trash. The genius gives him another slap and asks if he is worthy of calling the guy daddy. The new blow sends both of them to the ground, completely stunned and unresponsive. Confused, the brute wonders if he isn't worthy of calling the other guy daddy. The blonde guy asks the mage why the genius helped them, and assumes it was because of her. With a smile, he says it's the only explanation, as only she commands such respect. The genius of the third academy then approaches and asks if they were satisfied. Adjusting her glasses, the mage replies that she was very satisfied with the outcome. The blonde guy thanks the genius on behalf of all the students of the second academy. The genius shoves him and says he wasn't talking to him, leaving the guy confused. He then walks toward the MC, leaving everyone else behind. At this, the blonde guy and the mage are left completely baffled by the powerful guy's attitude. The genius then salutes the MC and asks if he was satisfied. Shocked, the blonde guy wonders why the genius is treating a loser with so much respect. Annoyed, the mage writes the genius's name in her notebook and says she'll remember him. Suddenly, a horde of chainsaw monsters appears and runs toward the students. At that moment, the assassin and other powerful students arrive to help contain the threat. The elite group starts fighting the monsters, showcasing their incredible abilities. Other students celebrate the arrival of the top 10 geniuses and are filled with hope. The assassin then asks the group to hold the front line while she opens the gate. With all her strength, the girl tries to push the bronze gate to open the passage. One of the students can't handle the pressure and is thrown away by one of the monsters. Lying on the ground, the guy yells that they won't last much longer and tells the girl to hurry. The assassin complains that the gate won't open and that only a 2-star professional can do it. Other students despair and say that without the star tower, no one can reach 2 stars. The MC then offers to open the gate and says he'll handle the situation. The pink-haired guy tells the young man to get out of the way and stop bothering everyone. With a smile, the white-haired guy says he can open the bronze gate. Another guy doubts him and asks if the young man is joking. He then says it's a miracle the MC made it this far alive without his help. From a distance, the blonde guy laughs and says that anyone who believes the MC is a real fool. The white-haired guy says he knows the incantation to open the gate and pushes it. Confused, the other young man says that's nonsense, as there is no incantation for the gate. The MC then begins to recite an incantation, calling the others idiots. One of the students catches the insult, and the other says if the gate opens, he'll eat his own hat. With his hands on the gate, the white-haired guy yells for it to open at once. The blonde guy then makes a bet and says he'll do a live stream of himself eating crap if the gate opens. Suddenly, the blonde guy's jaw drops, and his face shows complete astonishment. With an intense glow, the bronze gate begins to open slowly to everyone's surprise. The pink-haired guy's jaw drops, and he can't believe what he's seeing. Shocked, the other students wonder if the gate really opened with that nonsense. One of the students comments that he opened the gate without using power and wonders if it was the incantation. The assassin realizes he's 2 stars and wonders how he managed that feat. Out of nowhere, some elite monsters pop up and charge at the desperate students. The creatures swing their chainsaws and send students flying everywhere without a shred of mercy. The crowd panics, yelling that they're 2-star monsters, and rushes through the gate. From a distance, a bald guy with sunglasses is stunned when he sees a kid open the gate. The guy tells his partner they need to get inside and finish young Master Luo's mission. Everyone manages to get through the portal and finds themselves in a dark, spooky cave. The assassin and the pink-haired guy are left speechless by what appears in front of them. A giant spider queen emerges with an army of little spiders, catching everyone by surprise. With a wicked little smile, the creature says the smell of humans is making her awfully hungry. The students despair and ask how a 2-star boss ended up in such a low-level dungeon. The spider queen then attacks and warns that she's going to devour everyone without any mercy. With its sharp claw, the creature grabs one of the students and tosses him into the air with ease. The guy panics at the situation and screams desperately for help to get out of there alive. The dude is carried to the spider queen's mouth, who is already getting ready for her meal of the day. The creature then strikes and with a smile says the little snack was delicious. Terrified, the students despair and say there's no way to fight and that it's over for everyone. With that, the assassin yells for everyone to get out of that place as fast as they can. The pink-haired guy says they can't because the 2-star monsters are blocking the exit. Seeing no other option, the girl decides to fight and charges at the spider queen. Scoffing, the creature asks how the food dares to resist and easily blocks her attack. With the force of the impact, the assassin is thrown away and falls to the ground, completely defenseless. Quickly, the white-haired guy catches her in his arms and asks if she's okay. The girl then says that the strength of a 2-star boss is too much for them to handle. The spider queen then says that her cookbook teaches that humans who fight back are tastier. The assassin yells for everyone to be careful and dodge the creature's claws. Other students despair and say there's nowhere to run in that cramped space. At that moment, the MC and the girl jump to the side and dodge the spider queen's attack. Annoyed, the guy yells and asks if the creature thinks they're cattle to be slaughtered. His anger rises and he says that now he's truly pissed off by the creature's attitude. The girl then yells and warns that not even a 2-star professional can fight the beast head-on. The guy ignores the warning and lands a powerful punch on one of the creature's claws. With the impact of the blow, the young man is thrown backward and flies through the air screaming in pain. The spider queen laughs and says he has no idea that he's just food for her. Suddenly, the creature stops laughing and is shocked to see that its claw has been damaged. Shocked, the assassin is surprised that he wounded the creature and thinks Su-chen is stronger than her. The young man thinks that even with his rage at its max, he only managed to hurt one of the monster's claws. Other students wonder who broke the claw and think it was Li Shuangyan who did it. Furious, the spider queen says the food fought back and orders her children to attack the group. With that, an army of spiders advances, and the group of geniuses prepares for combat. One of the smaller creatures leaps and lunges to attack one of the students. The pink-haired guy cuts down 2 spiders and suggests that the 10 geniuses team up to fight. The blonde guy says it's useless, as the entrance is blocked by 2 star monsters. He then says that fighting is better than waiting for the end, but the other says that way they'll just go out faster. The MC then yells and tells the 2 of them to stop arguing so he can speak. Everyone turns and looks at the guy who is at the center of the chaos. The white-haired guy then asks his friend for Murong Lulian's number to get her contact info. Other students are confused by the request and don't understand the situation at all. His friend then yells and asks if the young man has lost his mind for thinking about girls at a time like this. Meanwhile, at the Advanced Academy of Tianqing, we see a very imposing and grand place. Inside, a red-haired girl faces a monster with a scarecrow mask. The girl wonders if that is the creature from the 4-star promotion mission. Without wasting time, the monster charges and tries to attack the swordswoman with its sharp claws. The girl then uses her cutting technique and attacks the creature with all her strength and power. With a smile, she says the creature is a bit weak to be the mission's boss. From a distance, a pink-haired girl celebrates and says her waifu lit up the 4th floor. Next, the red-haired swordswoman walks down a hallway with a blindfold over her eyes. Another girl congratulates her on the promotion and tries to give her a kiss to celebrate the success. The swordswoman stops her and asks if she's looking for some kind of trouble. With a smile, the other young woman asks to be punished and says she wants to get some spankings. The red-haired girl ignores her and says she needs to pass on her experience to the other students. The red-haired girl complains that the professor made her do this, even though she isn't an instructor. With that, the pink-haired girl yells for her waifu to wait and says she's going with her. Back in the dungeon, the MC asks for the phone and says it's an emergency for everyone. The purple-haired guy gets annoyed and forbids him from tarnishing the honor of his goddess. The white-haired young man then says that his only goal is to save everyone present. His friend then expresses doubt and asks how the guy plans to save everyone from that situation. He then reminds him that he opened the bronze gate when the others said it was impossible. With that, the guy yells at his friend to stop wasting time and give him the phone already. With no choice, the guy hands over the phone and warns him not to tarnish the goddess's honor. At the academy, the red-haired swordswoman is giving a lecture to a large crowd of students. The students comment on the girl's beauty and say she is the nightmare demon queen. A pink-haired girl then approaches with a stack of papers in her hands. She puts the papers on the table and the swordswoman asks what all that paperwork is. The other girl then reveals that those papers are the love letters she received from the students. The swordswoman then orders the student council to take the authors of the letters to a secret mine. The pink-haired girl agrees and says the students need a lesson to learn. Suddenly, the cell phone on the table starts ringing in the middle of the commotion between the two. The pink-haired young woman then picks up the device and sees that it's an unknown number calling. The girl asks if she should answer, and the other says yes, as it could be the professor calling. With that, the swordswoman snatches the phone from her friend's hand and prepares to answer the call. On the other end of the line, the MC introduces himself and says he has something very important to say. The red-haired girl is surprised and wonders why that guy is calling her. Back in the cave, a pink-haired girl asks the guy who that kid is. The white-haired young man yells into the phone and declares his love for Murong Lulian without hesitation. With the unexpected declaration, the two girls are left completely speechless and silent. Silence falls over the auditorium and all the students are shocked by the guy's confession. In the cave, the purple-haired friend gets annoyed and says the MC has gone completely insane. The young man continues to shout, "I love you," over and over while the other tries to stop him. On the other end of the line, the swordswoman gets furious with the guy's attitude and yells his name. The guy then breathes a sigh of relief and thinks that the task of saying "I love you" 100 times is complete. The students revolt and ask who the guy is that publicly insulted their senior. The pink-haired girl says he's arrogant and that they should send him to the Abyss dungeon. The swordswoman slams her fist on the table and yells for everyone to be silent. She then reveals to the crowd that the mysterious guy's name is Su Chen. The students are confused and say they've never heard of a genius with that name. The red-haired girl then surprises everyone and says that he is her boyfriend. With the shocking revelation, the students' jaws drop and they can't believe what they heard. The pink-haired friend is shocked and wonders if her waifu admitted to having a boyfriend. After the commotion, the swordswoman turns and leaves, leaving her friend behind. The girl thinks that since the guy wants to play games, she'll use him as a shield to have quieter days. Outraged, the students say they're going to find the guy and that he's not worthy of the girl. A young master then orders them to find everything about Su Chen in just 10 minutes.